I met a young man in the middle of the night many years ago in Vietnam as a new casualty. And he asked me if I would come and listen to him because he had something he wanted to tell me. And I certainly did. I was a young nurse. I was brand new to Vietnam. And he started to tell me about this experience he had. And tears are flowing down his eyes. And he's saying, please believe me. And he described what we now know to be a classic near-death experience. But I had no idea what he was talking about. And he started my path on working with medical people in near-death experiences for the rest of my life until today. He started me on working with the medical community to really come to understand about near-death experiences and why it's so important for doctors and nurses to be able to support patients who have near-death experiences. Right from the beginning, I knew near-death experiences were important, and they were important for the medical community to be able to support patients and help them validate these experiences. So as I got more rank and more information over the years, I taught about near-death experiences to everybody I could get to listen to me. And the more rank I got, the more I was insistent upon people understanding this. And as a colonel in Europe, I would have general officers call me and want to tell me about their near-death experiences, but afraid to tell anybody else. As a colonel and being in Germany during Desert Storm, I was really insistent that we would train all medical people about near-death experiences, knowing that many of them, the people would have them because of the combat situation. And so it became imperative that we do training, and the more rank I got, the more training we did, and the more people that would come and seek me out and try to understand about near-death experiences because they had no one else to go to. 40 years ago, when I started looking at near-death experiences, nobody knew anything about it. There wasn't even a name for it. In the mid-'70s, of course, Raymond Moody wrote his book, Life After Life, and so we had a beginning of an understanding. But I was already teaching about near-death experiences to doctors, nurses, social workers, so that they would be able to support patients who had these experiences, because otherwise they're so isolated. And now it's even more imperative with all the veterans coming out of Iraq and Afghanistan. Previously, we've had great difficulty with people ending up in a psych ward or being over-medicated because they tried to tell a provider about their near-death experience. And that is just so dangerous for them and so wrong, especially in the military, because they're being misdiagnosed and then medicated, and really all they needed was somebody to acknowledge and let them own their own near-death experience. The state of understanding the near-death experience is still quite unknown in the VA and the military. There certainly are people that have some semblance of understanding, but it's not widespread, and that's where IANDS has wanted to step in and do a program for veterans hospitals and military hospitals. I have spoken for years while I was on active duty, and it does make a difference if you have someone there teaching all about the near-death experience and the after effects and how we can support them. Because of my interest in near-death experience, when I first came to Durham, I went to the local VA to ask about how they would differentiate between people who were talking about their near-death experience or someone who was having maybe a psychotic break. And the chief of the department said to me, "What's a near-death experience?" Because of my interest in the military and my previous 25 years in the military, I have developed a program for the military in being able to teach and support patients. And we, IANDS, will be able to take this and has taken it to military institutions and given them something to work with to provide support and education to near-death experiencers and their families. My goal for the military is to provide a wonderful training program and support to GIs and veterans who are near-death experiencers. We, last year at our conference, invited many veterans and wanted them to come so they didn't feel isolated. We had one veteran who came with me as my guest, who was in Vietnam the same time I was in Vietnam. He was injured. He had a profound near-death experience. He tried to tell his doctors. They didn't want to hear about it. And at our IANDS conference, some 40 years later, he, for the first time, was able to talk about his near-death experience. And all he could say to me was, "This has changed my life." It's important for near-death experiencers to be understood because otherwise they feel so isolated. And on top of the physical and already psychological trauma that they have, they could use a positive support of the near-death experience for further healing instead of being further isolated. The IANDS conference is open to the public and really wonderful for them to come to also. It gives them a total new appreciation when they hear experiencers talk about the love, the understanding, the forgiveness that they experience during their experience. It's very hard to deny when you hear experience after experience for the public not to get something out of that and have a new understanding of what that consciousness is like. Everybody that comes gets something out of it. Near-death experiencers feel like they're coming home. They have people there that will listen to them and talk to them about their experience. People who have not had near-death experiences are learning what it might be like to understand and have a purpose in life that near-death experiencers sometimes get. And it's also important because so many people have relatives and other people in their life who have had near-death experiences, and therefore it's important for them to be able to support them. Not to mention that it's just fun. They're excited because it's brand new information that they're not likely to get otherwise, and the energy and people they will meet will be tremendous. You'll never get so much love in one place at one time. Frequently when I give a talk, I ask people how many people have had near-death experiences, and there's always numerous in the audience. But my reason for doing these talks many times is asking people, we are all going to die at some point. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have an idea of what that might be like? Because it isn't awful. It's about love. It's about light. It's about coming into your own. And I have since helped many people go through their transition, and much different than it used to be. And now it can be a very loving thing, and they will gather that from the conference also by listening to other experiences. One of the great aspects of coming to an IANDS conference for the public is they get to know that there is no death, that from near-death experiencers we hear about the love, the light, the purpose. And so it makes understanding that those transitions wonderful and new and enriched to live our life to the fullest now and not worry about the next life, because it will be there and it will be a wonderful transition. But right now, we've got a great life to live.